All right, everybody. Matt Walsh really got into people's attention recently when he released this documentary movie called What is a Woman? It's really his thesis of transphobia, and it's been one of the cultural sort of rallying points, a mast through which the right has carried the torch of transphobia into this current era of the culture war. And, you know, it's been quite influential as far as the right is concerned. It's where a lot of anti-trans conspiracies and talking points come from, and it's had a pretty severe impact. However, recently this story dropped from Rolling Stone. 3 people in Matt Walsh's anti-trans film say they were tricked. Now, for those that don't know, I covered this before the movie dropped. Matt Walsh was working on this movie, and it was known that he was working on this movie before he'd announced it because trans people were coming forward calling him out for actively attempting to deceive them into taking part in his anti-trans documentary. He was reaching out to a bunch of trans people that were somewhat notable under false pretenses in order to try to get them into interviews talking about topics that were not what the movie was about, to try to get, I guess, them saying things that they weren't saying to pull a narrative from, right? It's very easy to build a narrative out of people saying something they're not if you, like, just completely mislead them about what the content of that movie is going to be. So I literally made a video that was warning people that the What is a Woman movie is coming, and it's going to be filled with lies and examples of people who have been misled and tricked about the contents of what they're about to take part in. And now it seems like that's finally starting to come around. Xanderhall, the algorithm bumped your old video on What is a Woman, and the number of TERFs in the comments are unreal. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. 3 people in Matt Walsh's anti-trans film say they were tricked. Oh, well, thank you for the ad, Rolling Stone. 3 people who were interviewed in the anti-trans film What is a Woman say the filmmakers used deceptive recruiting tactics that contradicted the documentary's promise to be a fearless examination of the modern gender debate. The participants told NBC News they felt they'd been tricked by producers who hid behind the facade of flattering and vague language. Dr. Marcy Bowers, a California surgeon whose patients include trans women, provided the outlet with what she referred to as a completely deceptive email from a producer. According to a copy provided by NBC News, the email poses the doc as a film about transgender people and the challenges they face in today's culture, quote-unquote. The film, which was released in 2022 and is narrated by right-wing troll Matt Walsh, premiered on Daily Wire's website and received little attention at the time, despite buying ads on major social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. In June, the doc went viral after Twitter owner and billionaire Elon Musk promoted the video on his own account, resulting in 2 high-level departures from the social media company within 24 hours. Under Musk's supervision, Twitter had previously removed a policy against the targeted misgendering or dead-naming of transgender individuals, quote-unquote. Naya Okami, a trans woman who said she would not have agreed to appearing in the film if Walsh's team had been transparent about their perspective, Okami said she felt the Daily Wire founder had used her to capture gotcha footage for the film. Quote-unquote, "It was completely fraud in my opinion," she said. "He wanted to use me to make us look ridiculous, to make us look sensational." Dr. Michelle Forcier, a professor of pediatrics at Brown University, said that Walsh's staff had pitched what seemed to be a genuine interest in the science behind puberty blockers. "I said, sure, learning about blockers is really important, and I'm always trying to be available to talk about the science and help people understand," she said. However, a few minutes into the interview, Walsh compared puberty blockers to chemical castration and said gender dysphoria was similar to believing in Santa Claus. Dr. Forcier, I believe is how it's probably pronounced, cut the interview short. "He was getting frustrated because I wouldn't say some of the things he wanted me to say," she said. In February 2022, trans activist Eli Ehrlich exposed how the Daily Wire used deceptive tactics to attempt to recruit transgender people, including her, into participating in What is a Woman. Walsh's production team used pseudonyms and had created a shield organization titled the Gender Unity Project to mask the project's association with right-wing websites. Ehrlich previously told Rolling Stone that anti-trans influencer Robbie Starbuck had previously tried to recruit her for another documentary-style video titled It Takes a Village. A person named Morgan Kay reached out to me, quote, Ehrlich said, I am still dealing with backlash from exposing Matt Walsh, and so I'm pretty skeptical about documentaries that won't even tell me who the producer is. Yeah, for those that don't know, they targeted Eli Ehrlich because they'd been calling out Matt Walsh pretty hardcore before, so they reached out and actively tried to pretend to be somebody else to trick them for the documentary. Like, really scummy, non-journalistic shit. While Dr. Bowers... Wait, hold on. Emails provided to Rolling Stone by Ehrlich show a request from a woman named Morgan Kelly. We want to present the real story of the battles trans youth face and the activism surrounding it. We also touch on the drag issue and how schools are adapting to demands for more inclusion, Kelly wrote in an email. While Dr. Bowers said that she doesn't necessarily regret the interview with Walsh, she emphasized the lack of education increases misunderstandings of the trans community. He edited it in a way that wasn't fair, so it doesn't leave people with any sort of knowledge or education, she told NBC News. It just heightens their fears of trans people, to this and his viewers' loss. So yeah, just literally outright called out by the Rolling Stone of all platforms for just making a propaganda movie filled with lies that outright misled the people in question. I believe I made a video about this when this news was first bubbling to the surface before it came out. If you guys want to find it, you can link it, but I literally covered this before. And I talked about how, like, there were people reaching out publicly before What Is a Woman dropped to talk about how this is, like, happening and they have been tricked and this movie is a thing that's going to happen. So yeah, like, this is not a surprise to me. I really hope there's lawsuits. I'd like to see What Is a Woman become, like, an unironically banned movie. Like, looked back on in the same way that, like, any other piece of Nazi or racist propaganda made in the past was, and is now, like, just relegated to being dusty old VHS tapes in the back of closets or whatever. I would like to see that happen. That would be pretty awesome. It's literally just like a propaganda hate piece, you know? And the big issue with it is that it's spreading misinformation with the goal of promoting violence as an end goal. And that's why I would not be surprised to see a movie like that down the road getting banned. Granted, Birth of a Nation isn't banned, is it? It's got a relevance to filmmaking, I guess, and that's why. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I mean, like, it's literally the transphobic version of A Birth of a Nation. A Birth of a Nation was what rallied together the new age of the KKK. Like, the KKK was a dead, no longer existing, like, group. And then Birth of a Nation happened, and they revitalized the KKK. And the KKK we know now was inspired by that movie. The Birth of a Woman, yeah. I've made the comparison before, but What Is a Woman is the modern-day right-wingers, transphobes' Birth of a Nation, and it's going to be looked back on as such for generations to come. And it's nice to know that, like, the internet is going to act as a forever time capsule of all of this shit, and people like Matt Walsh are going to be scorned and spat upon in the annals of history for generations going forward. That is the inevitable future that is going to happen, and it makes me happy. It really does.